A couple games I think we can gloss over because they were probably games that didn't really need to happen. We had the Chiefs destroying the Steelers.
Speaking of pain, did you know that Travis Kelce had a higher PFF passing grade than Ben Roethlisberger?
You know who I think else did is OBJ.
You know who else did? Brian Anger. Yes, Odell did. Odell had like a 79.9 passing grade.
Yeah, he did.
Dope throw to Akers. Was it Akers? Yeah, it was Akers. Because I
yeah.
lost money on Michelle because he didn't have a target.
The other game that I guess we can gloss over is Tampa Philly. I think the point we can get from those two games are Super Wildcard Weekend just needs to go back to Wildcard Weekend.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings because I understand what the NFL is trying to do, and I do think it was. If it's close, then well, they should have more playoff teams. If it's a blowout, then they should have fewer playoff teams. Like look at baseball. Who won the World Series? Oh, the worst team in the playoffs. Bow down, peasants. You lost to an 88-73 team 11 times. Like the Dodgers were like the second coming of Jesus, won 100 some odd games. They didn't win the World Series. The Giants won even more games. They didn't win the World Series. But so like you have that. And then last year you had a competitive Colts-Bills game, but then you had a disaster that was the Nickelodeon broadcast with MVP Mitch Trubisky and Jimmy Graham. So I get the pushback that, there should only be 12 playoff teams or there should be even fewer teams because neither 3-6 matchup was, San Francisco did win, but there were several dud playoff games this week. But how much of that is, we've had a 2-year sample size. We've had 3 bad games and 1 pretty good game. I get it, but if you're judging on sample size, then you're going to have some outlier results, especially in our super small sample size. Like, what if next year, I don't know, the Broncos are the 7th seed, and they go up to Buffalo, and they beat Buffalo? Josh Allen probably won't lose that game, but let's just say, I've said before the Broncos are a good matchup for Buffalo because Buffalo doesn't care about stopping the run, very much like the Chargers. If a 7 seed beats a 2 seed, does that give credence to a 14-team playoff? Or is that just a football is football? Like the Jets beat both the Titans and Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Like the
that
Jags
seems like a
Bills
football is football kind
Colts.
Of thing, though.
Like the Saints beat the Packers.
It's so tough to call. Like the 49ers, they destroyed us in week 18, but what if there wasn't a 7 seed?
Heck, the Saints beat the Packers and the Bucs twice. Ed probably would have beaten Tennessee if they had Jameis Winston. And got creamed by Buffalo. I think when you try to draw conclusions for like playoffs and say, if you have more teams, then yada, 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 you need a larger sample size. Like look at March Madness. Is expanding from 68 or 65 to 68 the right move? I think you can begin to draw conclusions now because you've had a decade of games. Or was expanding from 64 to 68 a good thing? Okay, you've had 2 decades of games to say, okay, this was pointless or this was a good idea, right? And I think you can have a reasonable conclusion that over in the 64-team era since 1985, there has not been a seed in the bottom half to win a national championship. So you can make a conclusion, which I don't know if it's the right conclusion, but you can make a conclusion and say, well, it's kind of pointless to have the 9 seeds and below, which you're not technically wrong, but I don't know how you judge that. And at the same time, how much of that is an outlier? If like a 9 seed, like UConn won the title in 2014 as a 7 seed, go Huskies. If they were a 9 seed and had won the title, does that invalidate years and years of data? No, it's just really an outlier. Or like Boston College made the Final Four as a 9 seed. Wichita State made it as an 11, or as a 9 as well. VCU made it as an 11. Syracuse made it as a 10. LSU made it as an 11. Loyola made it as an 11. Friggin' George Mason made it as an 11. So like you have these upsets in sports, but how much of that is an outlier or how much of that is them screwing up the seeding? And in the NFL playoffs, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say the Ravens get
Here,
the
let me
7th
actually
seed.
remove this Give your hypothetical.
Okay. So if the Ravens get the 7 seed, let's say the Ravens get the 7 seed, Lamar is healthy, Dobbins gets on his Cam Akers and comes back. Marcus Peters, same thing. J.K. Dobbins, same thing. And they're all back. Are the Ravens really a 7 seed, or are they just like a 7 seed record, but like much better?
I mean, you could ask the same question with the 49ers right now. I think that's a fair assumption because I think a lot of people are saying that they're better than a 7 seed, but they have a 7 seed
they're
record.
better than a 6 seed, right?
6
They
seed,
just
sorry,
happen
whatever it is.
they just happen to play, well, I guess they own you, but they happen to play in a division with the Seahawks, who own them, and the Cardinals, who apparently own them.
We own them pre-2019. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how the dynamic that the Seahawks like never lose to the Niners, and then you guys never beat the Niners, and then
We never beat we always beat the Seahawks. Or no, that's back and forth. I think that one's more back and forth, but we always beat the Cardinals. And then we always lose to the Niners. The Niners always lose to the Seahawks. Seahawks Cardinals a little more back and forth. This is why we like the NFC West.
The NFC West is like just strange. But to me, the conversation about expanding or not expanding the playoffs can't be based on the results of the season, because sports are sports, right? There is always, if you had a 32 team playoff, there's going to be some year that the Jaguars knock off the Packers. Not going to happen every year. Not going to, maybe, I don't know, once every 20 years, maybe.